Hey folks, David Stewart here. What we are going to be looking at today is this guy right here. This is the D&D starter set. This is a box edition of Dungeons & Dragons, and I wanted to open it up and see what's inside, not just to do an unboxing video because I know some of you do not like unboxing videos, but to evaluate what's inside and see if what is in this starter set will actually allow somebody who's never played Dungeons & Dragons to sit down, actually play through the game, and hopefully have a good time. So that's the perspective I'm going to be using to evaluate this. Before I open it up, let me take a look at some of the things on the box and tell you why this kind of got me excited. So first of all, I saw this not at a hobby store, not at a game store, not at a comic shop or something like that. I saw this on an end aisle display at Target, and that to me is a very good thing. It was by the other board games, it was by other amusements that people might like, and the reason I like it at Target is because it's normal, everyday people. It's not a geek culture that they're focusing on with this starter set. One of the problems with D&D that's evolved over the decades is where to begin. As you ask somebody how do you get into D&D, they may have these big thick rule books. There's like a monster manual, there's a rule book, there's additional rule books for like extra classes and all kinds of other things that are intimidating to people who've never played an RPG. Way back in the past, like with AD&D, you had these box sets, which was a great place to begin. So now, if you're asking, hey, where do I begin playing D&D? The answer is hopefully this starter set. Tells you right away. So I saw this at Target. I actually did not buy this copy at Target. I bought it off of Amazon because when I went back to buy one at Target, they were all gone. Now, I don't know if that means that they sold out of them or they sent them back because they were unpopular or something else. But I didn't see them on the shelf anymore, which meant to me that hopefully people bought some of these. I think it's a good thing. So I like the box right away. It has a big painting of a very scary dragon and a knight. It really sets the mood for what you want with a fantasy RPG. It's very, very appealing to the eye. It'll get your attention. It got my attention in the store and really made me pay attention. You have the D&D, you have the Dungeons & Dragons branding, and then you have everything you need to start playing the world's greatest role-playing game. Let's flip it over and look on the back side, because on the back side there's some really, really good branding for marketing, some really good marketing information. So explore subterranean labyrinths, plunder hordes of treasure, battle legendary monsters. That's 3 ideas that you want to get across to somebody to make them interested in your product. After they've picked it up, they like the cover, just like a book. You pick it up, you read the big text at the top, see if it gets your attention, and then you read the smaller text. The Dungeons & Dragons starter set is your gateway to action-packed stories of the imagination. This box contains the essential rules of the game, plus everything you need to play heroic characters on perilous adventures in worlds of fantasy. So that's designed to give people the idea of what D&D actually is. You have a great picture of what's inside. You have a couple of books and some character sheets, some dice, and an adventure book that will hopefully tell the person a story. It tells you the game contents down here. For people that are like, well, how are you going to have, there's 5 pre-generated characters. I'm going to point that out. 5 pre-generated characters, each with a character sheet and supporting reference material. That I actually think is a really good thing for people who've never played D&D, and I'll explain why. And then game dice. So for some people that are like, why are there only 6 game dice if you can have up to 6 people playing? Well, back in the old days, the before time, not everybody carried around all of their game dice. The dungeon master would do all of the rolls, and it only became a thing later on that everybody had their own cool little set of dice of whatever composition or color, and now people have rock dice and metal dice and all kinds of cool stuff. But back in the day, really the dungeon master could execute all of the roles for the party and could play the game that way, and it worked pretty well. So that's really all you need. When you're ready for even more, expand your adventures with the 5th edition Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, and Monster Manual. Now, this is actually something that I really like because this information is put down far away at the bottom of the box in smaller text. The idea that it's 5th edition. There's no 5th edition listed anywhere on this box on the sides. There's nothing anywhere that says 5th edition other than this. And that's really good because if you start seeing things like 5th edition, it actually sends a message to somebody who's never played that things are going to be complicated. And when you're trying to evangelize someone into whatever your hobby is, you don't want to sell them on something being so complicated that they have to sink a bunch of time into it. This has to do with lowering the cost of entry. So when it comes to things and like hobbies, or it comes to books even, or movies, there's always a cost of entry. There's paying a ticket to go to a movie. There's buying this box set, which is, by the way, retail is $20 US and $24 Canadian. I don't know what the European version of this looks like. My imagination is it'll probably look fairly similar. It might have a slightly less scary guy on the outside because of you know, local laws and things like that, but I expect it to be fairly similar as far as its content goes. Anyway, so the barrier to entry may not just be money though. It could also be time. So if you see those big thick rule books, you know, with a monster manual and everything, that tells a consumer who's new to this sort of hobby that they are going to have to do a lot of learning in order to actually enjoy this hobby, in order to actually play the game. That could actually be a really bad thing, because that'll turn them off. That's like, I don't have time to figure out this. That looks way too much. I just want to play a game and have fun. So lowering the cost of entry is something that this set specifically does. It's supposed to include everything you need. You don't have to, even now, if you were to go try to buy all the books, there's no one that says, well, here's a set of all the books. You know, you got to go through a list and decide which books you want, which ones you're going to get. You sort of assemble your materials. In this case, everything's there. The cost of entry is just the price. The time, it says there's a 32-page rule book. 32 pages is still quite slim compared to those big 150, 200-page rule books that you might be used to. So the whole idea is to lower the cost of entry. And the 5 pre-generated characters actually goes into that. One of the things that I notice with people who are new to this sort of game is they tend to not understand all of the rules right away. You have to play the game to figure out the rules. So having them roll a character right from the get-go that requires them to understand how the stats work and requires them to understand everything about how every little thing works in order to min-max a character, that's probably too much for somebody who's new. It's better to give them a character and have them play through it and figure out the mechanics of the game. And then later they can make their own character where they can decide some of their stats, and they can decide if they want to min-max or if they want a character with like an off strength, like a charismatic knight or something like that. So I really like the idea that they had those pre-generated characters. Now let's go ahead and open it up. One last thing before I open it up. There is no Wizards of the Coast branding anywhere on this, and I actually like that a lot. I don't know if that's a new thing. I don't know if that's a consistent thing, but there's no Wizards of the Coast branding. Wizards of the Coast is a company that I have definitely fallen out of my favor over the last few years, and it's kind of cool to see no branding from them on the box, just Hasbro branding. So get the trusty penknife out, open it up. Here we go. Let's take a look at what's inside. Right away, I do like the quality of the box. Fits nicely. Oh, great. So here's our adventure. Lost Mine of Phandelver. Lost Mine of Phandelver. I don't know this adventure. Actually, I might have seen this adventure before, but we'll find out. And look how many parts there are. There's actually 4 different parts, so you could do this in 4 nights. Goblin Arrows, Phandalin, the Spider's Web, Wave Echo Cave, and then a couple of appendixes about using items and using monsters, and then a rule index. So here's the starter set rulebook. Now there'll probably be some edits with this video where I take a look at the rules and see if they're kind of stripped down. My guess is it's the basic rule set without any kinds of extra things that you would need for I don't know, all the extra things that exist in 5th edition. Then we have our character sheets down below that. Let's take a look at them. So the first one we have is a fighter, and he's a level 1 fighter. He's a human. He's a lawful good alignment. He has a 30-foot speed, +3 to initiative, and 14 armor class. You have his stats over here, and then you have a little bit of some of his abilities here. Second wind, you have a limited well of stamina you can draw on to protect yourself from harm. You can use a bonus action to regain hit points equal to 1d10 plus your fighter level. Once you use this feature, you must finish a shot or long rest before you can use it again. Finish a short or long rest before you can use it again. Fighting style archery, rustic hospitality. So we have a fighter, and he has a +2 bonus to ranged weapons. That's interesting. Next, we have a High Elf Wizard. And the Wizard classes have definitely evolved a lot since first edition. You have a whole lot of abilities listed here. I'm not going to read all of them. And you do have an equipment list here, short sword of +4 attack. That's actually really, really good for a level 1 character, in my experience. Next, we have a Lightfoot Halfling. Lightfoot Halfling Rogue. I think that's actually probably a good race choice for Rogue. So we have kind of standard races associated with some of these classes. Background Criminal, alignment Neutral. So he's, of course, most rogues are going to be neutral or chaotic on some level. And then we have a Hill Dwarf Cleric. Always a dwarf priest, man. You got to have a dwarf priest in your party. Neutral good, and he's a soldier. Pretty standard. And he has an 18 armor class. That's really good. Next one is the another fighter, which is a human noble. So if we look at the first fighter, he's kind of an archer. He's a folk hero who's lawful good, and the other human is lawful neutral. So that's pretty cool. They don't have any of the weird races like half orc, or, you know, there's like a demon race now and a dragonkin race. So it looks like most of those are missing. And it looks like the rest of the box is just an empty thing here. So the box is much bigger than it actually needs to be. That's kind of good, because that means you can put extra stuff in it to keep your D&D stuff together. You could use this box in the future to store some other materials. And lastly, let's look at the dice for y'all. We have a very nice set of blue dice. They're slightly iridescent. I like them. I have plenty of dice already though. So I'm going to go ahead and break the video here, and then I'll give you a little bit of an evaluation on the adventure and the rule set. Okay, so having looked at the main two things that I want to talk about, which is the rule book and the adventure Lost Mine of Phandelver, I have a couple of opinions. So let's start with the rule book. Now, I will say that this set is not a rules light version of the game, and that could be good or it could be bad. Now, it could be good because you want people to move on and play the more robust version of the game. You want them to buy the nice thick rule book and play that. However, this falls into the same problem as the bigger, thicker rule book in that it throws a whole lot of concepts at a newbie all at once. It has many, many pages and walls of text dedicated to very particular kinds of rule play that frankly don't pop up a lot when you're actually playing. When you're actually playing, a lot of these situations are quite rare, and the main ones are actually really in chapter 1. So what I'd say is, if you got this, read chapter 1, read the beginning of chapter 2 for combat, and then skip the rest of it because you can figure it out as you go. And have your DM actually read through this at least a little bit and figure out what you need to do as you're playing through the adventure. The interior of the rule book, though, is very well formatted. It explains exactly how you begin play as a DM. There's some great little formatted text here that I may have to turn the page here so it doesn't get completely like washed out by the light here. There you go. So you have some great blocks of text here that'll explain, just gives an example of what play would look like. You know, the Dungeon Master says this, Philip says this, Amy says this, and they gives you an example of how play actually goes through. So I really do appreciate that. I will say, this is just a little complaint, it doesn't matter, but I love that they've always put in great art in D&D stuff. This is a really bad composition, not in terms of how it's drawn, but in what they put. They have this white page next to this very, very dark painting, and you can't really see any of the details of it. And then it looks really weird with this dark character kind of popping up in the white. I don't know, that's just a page layout complaint, I guess. Most of this is apparently from 2014, so I've missed it for quite a while. I do like that they put everything in big charts. So it makes it easier when you're actually playing. As you skip ahead to some of the stuff like spell casting, you can go through and just see things in charts, and makes it a little easier to find what you want when you're actually playing. So as a companion to playing, it's really pretty good. As far as something to read before you get started to get the gist, it's not that good. I would read chapter 1 and 2 and move on. And I think what would have been even better, and if you're designing an RPG, or if, you know, God forbid I put one on one day, I would probably, for a starter set, put the rulebook into the adventure. So when you begin the adventure, you have the rules introduced as you're playing So you only get as much information as you need, rather than presenting a big block of information that doesn't seem relevant because you haven't played the game yet. I'd like to get people quickly into playing. Now, I will say that the adventure is actually quite nice for what's there. I do like the formatting as well. I do like the fact that if you open it up, it tells you how to play. So once again, in both books, you have an introduction for how you're going to play the game. I would have liked more integration of the rule set into what's going on here, so that this could just be like more of a reference book, and you wouldn't have to look at it quite as much before beginning to play. It does tell you your basic stuff you need to play, and I really appreciate that. It has a great map here, nice full color map. There's full color illustrations that look great. Gives you the basic idea for how to begin, and then you finally are able to start beginning. It does format the text differently for what the DM is supposed to read, which is great. It does tell the DM what needs to happen in the eventuality. So for instance, in the first little part here, in the unlikely event that the goblins defeat the adventurers, because they're not supposed to die right away, they leave them unconscious, loot them in the wagon, then head back to Cragmaw hideout. So it tells you what to happen if people are completely clueless and somehow die. If I were DM, I just simply wouldn't allow them to die. I would kill the goblins, like have them fall on their own swords on accident, at least, because you don't want people to feel like they're failing, even though there's no losing at Dungeons and Dragons. You don't feel like they're failing so hard right at the beginning. But it does give you some ways to compensate for that, which is good. And a lot of adventures don't have all of those suggestions or all of those eventualities. It's kind of up to you as the DM to figure that out. But because this is a beginner guide or a starter set, it should give those suggestions because people are not used to creating a story out of thin air, kind of on the fly. It does tell you as it presents you something like adventure maps that these are just for the DM. It tells you as a DM what you need to do all the way through. So this is actually a great guide, and I really, really do like it for the way that it presents the gameplay kind of in line with the adventure. Great art as well. And as we finally get through here, it'll tell you like lists of NPCs. And one of the things I do like besides the art, let me go back to the back here, is it does have a great set of enemy charts in the back. So rather than, you know, some things, you could make your own adventure with these without having to use a monster manual or things like that. There's a lot of stuff in here that's helpful, and great pictures of the monsters as well. So I do appreciate this quite a bit. And I do think that the adventure is very well done. The rule set, I understand it's really hard to, it's a compromise. It's really hard to have a rule book that somebody who's never played D&D could actually look at and understand. But they still did a good job of integrating a lot of important information for the DM in the adventure. What I think might be even better is like if you had this and then maybe like a companion book for the players that as they went through would introduce the concepts kind of as they're playing. So when you're done playing through the whole adventure, you've tackled, you know, every big part of the rule set of the game, and you have an idea, you have a flavor for how to play the game. So overall, I think it's a pretty good little starter set. I still think you'd be better off if you had this, if you had somebody who's played D&D of some edition in the past. So if I pulled this out and then I decided to go through this with, you know, some people who've never played it before, at least I would be the DM, so I would have an idea for how to manage things there for people who've never had a clue about, like, what do you mean I do a dexterity check? What does that mean? It's like, okay, this is what you do. So it would be great to make an adventure where you have an opportunity to do all those things, and this one has all of those opportunities. It's just a lot of the rules are kind of separated from that. So that would be my criticism. Overall, I think it's a pretty good set. Now, before I go, you've probably seen that book. If you like D&D, you might like that book. I wrote it. It's called Water of Awakening. It's part of the Eternal Dream series. Third one might be out this year. We'll see if I can find enough time to write it. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know if there's any other RPG stuff you want to look at, especially things that are designed to get people who are new to this hobby or new to this style of board game play. If it was designed to get them into it, like a box set of some other RPG. Let me know if you know of one, and I'll see you guys next time.